Oh, sorry. Do you want to have a sing? Hey folks, welcome back. It's the big barn build. Behind me is our last wall that we've just finished building. Stick around and I'm going to show you it going up, along with a few other bits, including my dad and his mate having a go at First Fix Carpentry. And well, let's just say their tolerances were very tight. Stick around, let's make a start. So fortunately we'd seen the back of some of that really cold weather, so with no frost risk around, we decided to get on with some of the block work. That is just the inner leaf, which is inside that pool area in the corner. We can't carry on and build our timber frame until that's down. So we spent Monday morning getting those blocks down, and we could give them a few days ahead of getting the stud work up. Once that was done, it was back to Operation Green, so finishing off the OSB boards all along that southern wall, and then we could almost call that elevation done for the time being. About a day later, we felt like the block work was secure enough that we could carefully clean up, slide down our insulation into that cavity below floor level and get our DPC down. We then left it for another couple of days after that before we started the stud work, but most of this is fairly low disturbance. So you can see that is our 300mm wide DPC. That's going over both cavities, over both leaves, and being sealed to the DPM, which is the membrane which goes down and underneath our whole slab. Then next on with the LVL, which is our first sole plate. That goes on, we're going to scribe it around that steel, and then that will get fixed down temporarily while we start on our stud walls. 2780. A day or so later, we moved on to the first of the walls. Now this is the one that sits on the angled side of the pool, so it has a sloping steel rafter as part of the original barn frame above it. That means we need to put our sole plate down, measure up every 600mm where our studs will sit, and we're using a laser that we can kind of beam that up with a plumb and get our measurement. So I'm cutting, Tom's pinning them together, and then we will be able to lift this wall up as one, like we've done so many times before. With that one up, it's time to move on to the longer section of wall, and if people would like me to go through a more of a detailed video of how we are laying out our stud work, marking up, measuring, what kind of symbols and lines we use, then I can do that. It depends how much info and detail you want. But we go along the first glue lam, which is our first sole plate. That could be just CLS if you were building a small partition. We mark all of our centers on there, any openings, and then we get the one that's going to be sitting up against the roof or in the top plate here, and we butt that up against it, line it up on the end, and we transfer all of our marks across. Now of course in some places you'll have a door downstairs, but above that you'll have a stud, so we tend to mark all of our centers all the way along and then just cross out any on the downstairs section if there is no stud carrying all the way down. So once they were all transferred and we worked out the most efficient way of positioning our window and door, being that these are internal in some respects, we can just tweak them left and right a little bit to make the most of our stud spacings. Later on in this video I might talk about that a bit more as far as the most efficient way of designing a timber frame building. Oh, sorry. Do you want to have a sing? Just cracking into the chorus.
Yeah, turn the radio down. So sing really loud.
Just turn the corner on this one. So we're going to measure up to our purlin. So when we're running in parallel with the length of the frame, the portal steel frame that is, we are able to run up and we actually catch a purlin there, which is fine. That's good. It means we can fix into there and hopefully carry our sheets up when we board and carry all the way up to the underside of the roof. So we've cut both glue lambs. The other one is way over here. We're hopefully going to be able to build the whole thing on the ground, as many studs as we can fit before we get in the way of the saw, and then we'll flip it up.
Dips a little bit in the middle, which is sort of to be expected.
Yeah, 3 mil out.
So you could always
push up a little bit, depends how easy it is. So. Alright, what we're going to do is do a test stud. Block of glue lamb.
It's not even too drastic, is it?
So we then committed to a height of our stud after a bit of playing around with that test one, and we were able to get this built as one. Those purlins do drop by about 2 mil in the middle of the span, so instead of cutting individual studs we just went for an average, and it was easy enough to get that put up. This is not a supporting wall, it just needs to be up snug enough so we can get a fixing into that purlin. The only thing I didn't kind of cover in the last video, there were a few questions on the structural side of these walls. Now all of our stud work is being designed to actually take the roof load if it needed to. So in theory, almost all of this steel structure could disappear like that and the building would still be structural. It's obviously not going to, and we are using the steel as our primary structure, but because we could site all of our walls, or most of our walls, underneath existing steel beams, it just meant that we've got additional rigidity to the building. So when you've got a building like this, the tolerances are very different between agricultural and domestic, which basically means that when it's stormy or windy, for example, this frame will actually move slightly, or it would have, which is all well and good and it's not going anywhere. And I imagine there's a certain amount of flex designed into a portal frame. However, because you start putting plasterboard finishes and things like that and tiling, and you don't want too much movement obviously, so what we've done is by having all these racking walls boarded with OSB, you know, underneath all the steels and the lengthways along the building, that is just going to create a much stronger structure for us to then be able to go on and counterbatten all of the roofing, all the ceilings, and get the plasterboard in, because the last thing we want is a building which is swaying a little bit in the wind and cracking everything. And I joke about the steel frame suddenly disappearing and not being here, but almost daily Tom and I are saying, oh, wish the steel frame wasn't here. If we were building this exact building with the same sort of structure, the eye studs, the glue lambs, the engineered boards, and we could have built all of these walls exactly how we did and then sat purlins on top of it, and no columns would be sat in this building anywhere, which would make all of this detailing far easier, because, you know, everywhere you look there's a little steel column to work around and seal and tape and insulate. If all those steels were not part of the equation, then actually the stud work would just be so much easier. Also, that we've learned on layout of windows. For example, if we weren't restricted by planning to put windows exactly where old cow doors and things were, you could certainly be more efficient with your window layout. And I imagine there's software and designers there for that purpose, but your windows could be sized better so that they would fit regular intervals of the stud work, which is actually how I designed the cabin. If you go back and watch the cabin videos, I specifically lay all of our studs down at 400 centers. Then once I knew the width of the jack studs and the height of lintels and things, I sized all of my windows exactly to fit the stud work. So we didn't have these bonus studs randomly in between windows, which is just far nicer, far less thermal bridging, and made insulating far easier. So if you can, do a bit more head scratching and design it so you get all your stud work in, and then just delete 3 studs, let's say, and then by the time you put in your jack studs either side, you end up with a window, plus your 10 mm either side tolerance, and you can order that window to that size, because at the end of the day it's not like you're getting windows off the shelf of a preset size. They're nearly always made to order. So I would suggest that if you're designing anything, whether it's a garden room or a shed or anything, design all your stud work around the building and then see if you can make it work more efficiently. We designed this house on paper and gave it to the architects to make it actually work, but they didn't go into the timber engineering. I am just doing that on site myself. The floor layout has been done by James Jones, but the actual wall design, we're just making up on the hoof. However, with the cabin, I designed that in SketchUp, and I used a plugin on there, Medic or something, I can't remember quite the name of it, but there was a plugin that you could use for free or buy or as a trial, and it did nice layouts for you with all your stud spacings, and it worked really well. So if you do need to do a relatively straightforward timber frame, have a go on SketchUp, see if you can find that plugin, and it will do some of the heavy lifting for you. Later on that week, and well, you guessed it, it's back to green, and we're working our way all the way along the annex wall and across the north wall, which is the one where the front door is and all the entrance doors, and I was able to have a bit more help. Dad normally comes up on a Thursday, but he brought his friend up with him, who happens to be my godfather, and he's been watching a lot of these videos over the past few months and offered to come up for a day. So a huge thank you to him. Now the funny thing is, I became a bit of a spectator, and my dad, both my dad and Alan are naval engineers, and let's just say their tolerances for measurements are somewhat tighter than was needed, really. I don't know if anyone else has that sort of experience working with, whether it's a parent or a friend or someone who just is far too accurate. There's sometimes just not a need to be 0.5 millimeter in or out of a line, but there we are. It was quite amusing being the spectator there, and we got it done. So we worked all the way along that wall and started on the sort of the lower level, so the ground floor boarding. There we go, as the night draws in, I'll try and give you a glimpse of what we're looking like on the south wall now. It's really quite dark in here, I'm afraid. Yeah, you'll have to take my word for it. That is our vibrant green wall. So the whole of that is done. First floor sits about here, but that can only go in once we've taped all those joins. This one, even though it's a heavier and longer wall, stood up absolutely fine, up into that steel. And we started using some of the I-joists for blocking. We've got so many offcuts, and it worked really nicely. It kept it nice and straight. We will be completely boarded all the way around there, which means we lose all natural light during construction, but it does mean that we are nice and weatherproof or windproof in that corner. Right, we've just finished up. It's the following Monday, so we had 2 days to get this wall up, and then the other days we spent on the green. So this is how we're looking now. So the end wall, this is the end of the annex, end of the house really, because that will be a fully insulated wall. We put that blocking in. It turns out that using up all those annoying little offcuts of I-joists actually makes for a far more solid wall rather than just using CLS. So that's what we've done. We've put that there so that it'll catch the bottom and top sheet of our OSB, and then just above that we have got a little bit more supporting blocking to put in there, because there'll be a loft above here, so there'll be some ceiling joists to hang. But anyway, that's how we're looking there. So those ones will be filled with insulation floor to roof, and then when we come around the corner they're just a little bit higher. So we've decided to swing that blocking down horizontally. So we've used offcuts again, and that way we've got 2 fills. So we'll install insulation from above when it's blown in, and then same downstairs. There's nothing hanging or anything on this wall, it's just a full height wall. It is also a kind of a racking wall, so this will be OSB lined in all the green once it arrives. This one here becomes like a viewing window, so fixed glazing through that wall, and then here is the access door to go through. So I'm glad we finished that. We don't need to board it yet, or it's lower down the priority list, because we could go ahead and put the whole first floor in without that being an issue, which means we're going to park this wall for now. We're going to focus on getting the north wall done to the same level as what we've done on the other end. So completely green OSB, nailed off, insulate around the steels, and then next week will be the big week when we start looking at getting the internal load bearing walls in. Now I'm going to leave you with a question, because this is actually quite an important one for us. We'll need to know within the next 7 days. It's all about ceiling heights. So I'm thinking you got a 2.4 meter board. Let's say it's off the floor by 5 mil, and then you've got ceiling boards on 12.5 mil, maybe okay on the ceilings if they're at 400 sensors, and then it's going to get skimmed. So if we allow 15 mil for the ceiling, 5 mil for the floor, I'm thinking that it needs to be 20 mil taller than a board, which is 2420. But I might be wrong, and I'm sure if I do it, I'll be kicking myself, because I'll be trimming every single board, and there's a lot of boards in here. So let me know, what is the standard height, if they're 2.4 meter ceilings, what's the standard height finished floor level to the underside joists? Bearing in mind our finished floor level is done, we've got no build up on here at all. That's your homework, let me know, help us out. Well, I have pigs to feed, cows to milk. I'm glad I got that the right way around. I have milked a pig actually. It's on the farm channel somewhere. Anyway, needs must. I'm going to leave it there. If you enjoyed this, then let us know down in the comments, because we're grinding away here on the winter months, and I can't wait to kind of push on to the next level, quite literally, which will be getting that mezzanine in. But until we get this done, we can't really move on any further. So it's a bit of a grind this week and next week, and then we'll be able to just move into a whole different chapter of this building, which will be joists, horizontal things, floorboards, and counterbattening, services, electrics, all that good stuff. So if you're looking forward to that, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss anything. I'm going to leave it there. Thanks for watching. Remember, if you can, do it yourself. We'll see you next time.